This is the WrestleBread Podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 141 of the WrestleBread Podcast. So we had Elimination Chamber last week. We have the AEW Revolution pay-per-view coming up, and a lot of news and rumors. So let's just hop right into it. So first off, Drake Maverick has been re-signed. He has gone back to WWE, this time as a producer / writer with the creative team. So, it gets now it's tiring now. The first time he was let go, he released a video where he was in tears, and he was brought back into NXT, was going after the Cruiserweight title, and then he was let go again a little more recently. And at that point, he released a video about how he was never really meant to be a superstar. He always wanted to wrestle and things like that. And a lot of people was very optimistic for him that he would either go to AEW or go to Impact or just something different. But it seems like he is very determined to work with WWE because he's back with WWE again. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. If he is to be let go a third time, I'm not going to feel sorry for him. The company fired you twice already. And then it's like, you know what? We'll let you come back in, not to wrestle, but you're going to be a producer writer. So I don't know if maybe he didn't really get contracts that he wanted, or maybe he decided to look towards a long-term future. I mean, he's still young, so I don't get why he didn't really actively try to do something permanently and get a contract somewhere. But, if it works for him, it works for him. But in my opinion, if he gets let go a third time, I'm not going to even feel bad for him. Also, more news involving AJ Styles. He has re-signed with WWE with a big old contract. Apparently over $3 million. This is per Fightful of the $3 million. And allegedly, I think I read somewhere that he has his own bus or something like that. Listen, WWE was willing to give whatever to AJ Styles because the last thing they want to happen is have that man walk out and go to AEW. If AJ Styles was to go to AEW, all bets would have been off, in my opinion. And I know there are people out there who don't really like AEW like that, but AJ Styles and AEW, especially with AEW now working with members of the current Bullet Club over in New Japan, you could have easily had set up a lot of fantasy booking, a lot of matches that we either never seen or, be reimagined. You could easily have done, Bullet Club versus Bullet Club, AJ Styles, especially having that Forbidden Door, be able to work with New Japan again, work with Impact and stuff. You could easily, him versus Omega, him versus Cole, him versus Danielson, him versus Moxley, even him going with the younger talent as well. I mean, one thing AJ Styles is really good at, he is really good at putting on great matches with anyone. I mean, we all remember his feud with John Cena. I mean, if you had told me that I would have been cheering for John Cena and sitting there saying how a John Cena match was so good, not like storyline wise, but actually wrestling wise, I wouldn't have believed you. But that's what AJ Styles had did. Now, according to the Wrestling Observer, his contract puts him among the company's highest paid stars. Of course, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Ronda Rousey, and Randy Orton make the most money. But now Edge is up in that group, along with Edge, Goldberg, and The Miz. And apparently his deal is more than what Kevin Owens re-signed for. So I don't know if Kevin Owens is going to feel some type of way about that, but I'm not surprised. They are willing to have AJ Styles to retire. I believe he also said himself that, he's not really looking to go anywhere else, that he was willing to retire with WWE. And plus, I feel like he's in a slightly good position He's making a lot of money. He's still putting on great matches. Even though, you're out there 5 days a week, it seems like he's happy where he's at right now. He's being used. It's a big possibility that he hopefully will go for a good singles run. Maybe after WrestleMania, they'll start to rebuild him again, and hopefully we will have him with a title around his waist once again. But yeah, I really like AJ Styles, and I really hope the best for him. And um, if that's with AEW, then that's with AEW. Speaking of possibly AEW, Cesaro has now the rumors with Cesaro now is slightly confusing. Um, I didn't even know his contract allegedly expired. So first, it's his contract had expired. WWE had offered a contract, and he didn't really agree with it. So he is now a free agent. I could have sworn he re-signed a year or two ago. Normally they re-sign people for, these multi-year contracts, but apparently he only signed for a year. And then there's rumors that, I don't know, it's just like kind of back and forth. But of course, it drew a lot of interest. It drew excitement for me if Cesaro was to be a free agent. Of course, people, whenever somebody is a free agent or leaving WWE, we immediately go to AEW. Truthfully, and I know, is AEW oversaturated? Yes. They have a lot of people on their roster. However, it's just such an exciting time in wrestling for wrestling fans and for wrestlers to have, and I said this before, to be able to leave one company and go to another company and still be able to be presented on TV and still be able to wrestle in front of a sizable audience, it's a great thing. Back in the day, if you were to leave WWE, there was really nowhere else to go. You could go to New Japan, but not a lot of people can afford that opportunity. You had TNA back in the day. You had TNA when Dixie Carter was around, but normally you just either go on to get a regular job like us regular folks, and you show up at the bingo halls and the signings, stuff like that, and hope people remember you and stuff, but you don't really get paid the way you would in WWE. And so now there is competition out there, and now you kind of have a bargaining chip. We see what happened with AJ Styles getting a major contract because of the possibility of AEW. I feel as though if there wasn't AEW, if New Japan wasn't, presenting itself in America the way it's been, if, Impact, I mean, Impact is still Impact, but, it's still there. I feel as though AJ Styles probably wouldn't have got a big contract. It would have been the attitude of, hey, you either sign with us or, you'll be gone type of situation. So, with AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, a lot of these other wrestlers who are able to negotiate really good deals, it really works out for them. But with Cesaro, yeah, I hope Tony Khan picks him up. Right now in AEW, it's just like, when you're young and it's your birthday, grandma gives you $100 to go get whatever you want in Toys R Us, and you just see all the toys and your eyes get real big, and you want this toy, you want that toy, and this toy and that toy, and then you get close to the register and you're like, oh, I want these Pokemon cards and all this other stuff. So it's just that's how I feel right now with AEW. The way that Tony Khan is that, he's getting all these damn toys because, it's all available to him. But, on the flip side of that, we all know what happens. We all get home with our brand new toys, and the first, 2 to 3 weeks is all exciting. You play with everything, and eventually things start to kind of go to the wayside. And, some toys end up broken, and a few weeks later, you realize that it's gone and you don't know really where it's at, or you might not even realize that it's gone because your mom or dad threw the toy away because it was broke. And I feel like that is kind of what AEW is going through, that, it's all these new shiny toys coming in because, it's all available, but you're unable to juggle, the selection. So if they decide to get Cesaro, it's like whose TV time is being taken away. And yeah, they do rotate their talent, but they only have 3 hours of TV time. I mean, they do have Dark and Elevation, but Dark and Elevation, and people kind of keep comparing Dark and Elevation to like WWE's main event, which it really isn't. If you really watch Dark and Elevation, and a lot of big names go to Dark or Elevation. I mean, Cody Rhodes had went down there, Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley went down there, Adam Page had went down there as champion, Kenny Omega went down there, Adam Cole went down there. In my opinion, if you really watch it, it's really a tryout for the enhancement talent. Um, as we've seen, there's people who will be on Dark and Elevation. If they look really good, they get a good crowd reaction, especially when they're in front of the live crowds before Dynamite. Eventually, people get called up. I mean, we've seen that with Sky Blue. She had a very impressive showing in, I think it was Dark that she was on, in front of the Chicago crowd, and she eventually got signed. Fuego del Sol, he was on Dark as Dark Elevation. He eventually got signed as well. And a lot of people who were on Dark and Elevation, they could use that as kind of like on their resume to say, hey, I wrestled on Dark Elevation. Like, really think about it. And they get offense in. That's why I don't feel like it's like main event or anything like that. Um, Can you imagine in this day and age, you're breaking into the wrestling world and you get to be on AEW Dark and Elevation? Like, yeah, it's on YouTube, but you get to wrestle a 10-minute match against Bryan Danielson. Can you imagine the type of experience that you would gain instead of just like going on to like what we see with WWE a lot of times, going on to be an enhancement talent for Omos to squash you immediately? You instead get to wrestle on a YouTube show for 10 minutes with Bryan Danielson or 10 minutes with Adam Cole. That's really good bragging rights. And on top of that, if you decide to go towards WWE, you could say, hey, I wrestled Daniel Bryan. Here's the match. You can check me out. And the enhancement talent on there gets offense in. So it turns into a slightly more interesting showing instead of, Jon Moxley going down there and squashing someone. It's actually, kind of, I feel like for also with the talent, it's a bit of a break, to kind of wrestle someone else. You kind of get to try out some new offense that I mean, they have it taped in, I think Universal Studios sometimes. And so kind of gives people a break if you're not being shown on Dynamite or Rampage that week. It's not like you're sitting around unable to wrestle. You just, hey, can I go to Dark Elevation, wrestle this person or that person? And kind of give a break from feuds and stuff like that. But going back to Cesaro, I really hope he goes to AEW. The fantasy booking from there, and he could easily go to Impact as well, or even with the return of Ring of Honor, he could definitely show up there and and still work the Forbidden Door and show up in AEW. But Cesaro versus Bryan Danielson versus MJF, Jon Moxley, Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, him teaming up with someone going against the Young Bucks. I mean, the when he was in a tag team with Sheamus and even Tyson Kidd, really good. So hopefully, he gets teamed up with someone technical, go against the Young Bucks or something like that. Him versus Ray Phoenix, it's just so much opportunity out there to see Cesaro. So I really can't wait for that. Also with AEW, so there was someone who appeared on SmackDown and then later appeared on AEW Rampage. Her name is Kayla Sparks. She was actually in WWE with Angel Garza and Roberto Carlito, I think it is. But yeah, they do this Kiss Cam thing. Um, and she was the person who appeared on the Kiss Cam. And then later on that night, she was the one going against Serena Deeb for the 5-minute challenge. So shout out to her. It's nice seeing people getting their chance, on WWE and AEW. I'm sure once WWE found out that she appeared on AEW, they probably was like, get her the fuck out of here. um, but some more WWE, going back to WWE now. Um, Apparently, according to PW Insider, there is hope that Asuka will return this month, but apparently there's been nothing for her creatively, which we all know what that means. I really like Asuka, and I really hope that they use her to her ability, that we will see her show up, at least get a feud at WrestleMania. I don't even know if she's on Raw or SmackDown. But I would like to see her come back again. I mean, she was my spirit animal. But, once they start saying they have nothing for her creatively, we know the type of, the path that normally leads to. Also, there is the rumor of Vince apparently going against Pat McAfee at WrestleMania. I kind of don't want to see it. Vince McMahon is old as all hell. The man can barely do a promo with Austin Theory. So I'm very sure that it's not going to really be anything much. It could easily be Vince bringing in Austin Theory instead to fight for him against Pat McAfee. However, Vince is going to be appearing on Pat McAfee's podcast this Thursday at 12 p.m. So I'm sure a lot of people is going to be tuning in live to see that. I'm going to be tuning in live to see that. I'm sure people are going to be looking to see if it leads to a match, but I'm going to be tuning in because Pat McAfee is a really good interviewer. If you haven't gotten a chance to see Brock Lesnar on his show, definitely check it out. It is worth it. Brock Lesnar, as I've never seen before, doing Stone Cold impressions and stuff like that. It was, I would say, I don't really watch a lot of his shows, but definitely one of his best shows that I seen Pat McAfee do. And so I'm interested to see what Pat McAfee asks Vince McMahon, because he kind of as we seen on SmackDown, he kind of like goes there and he doesn't really, I mean, he cares, but he doesn't really care. So I'm very interested to see what happens between him and Vince McMahon. I mean, the last time Vince McMahon was really on a podcast like that was with Stone Cold, and that was, of course, when he said Cesaro needs to grab the brass ring or whatever, and we've seen what happened with that. So I'm interested to see what Pat McAfee has to say, especially once he starts doing those hard hitting questions and stuff like that. See how Vince responds to it, and then see what happens on SmackDown afterwards. It probably if they're going to do some type of match between them two, I'm sure Pat McAfee is going to ask a hard hitting question. Vince is going to like it, and then they make something out of that. But who knows? Um, Also, so on the recent episode of SmackDown, we saw Big E and Kofi Kingston come out on a four-wheeler like their Stone Cold Steve Austin. Apparently, according to Fightful Select, we seen them on a four-wheeler because WWE and Mattel have a new toy coming out soon. And I guess this is them trying to promote the toy. I just wish that they put this energy into this four-wheeler, into Big E's title reign. I think if we have done that, it's but whatever, you want to put that energy into a four-wheeler. I mean, whatever. Whatever. Also, lastly, uh everybody's been wondering about Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame. I feel as though he should be going into the Hall of Fame solo, but apparently it's possible that they're going to announce more names. I hope that the class is small because I really want a lot of time dedicated to The Undertaker, and this is me being 100% biased because I'm a big Undertaker fan, but what he has done for WWE and for the wrestling industry, like you can't gloss that over by giving him 20 minutes, especially the fact that he'll be going on last, giving him 20 minutes and then trying to like rush the show to end because you ran out of time, like we've seen plenty of times before. Like, I don't want a second edit out of his speech or out of, the person who's going to induct him speech or anything. Like, if we're going to pull a Mr. T type of speech, I'd rather it be with The Undertaker. Um, I'm hoping that maybe if they're gonna announce, more names, maybe two or three names or something like that, and like dedicate a whole hour to the Undertaker, because someone like that isn't going to come again. There's, especially with other companies out here, um, there is not going to be anyone that is dedicating 30 years to one company and hasn't stepped out on that company. I mean, we've seen Sting, yeah, he was very loyal to WCW, but he eventually went to WWE and now he's with AEW. Um, we've seen with Goldberg, he was with WCW, now he's with WWE. Brock Lesnar has left to go to UFC, MMA, and everything like that. And I see that going forward too, of someone coming into WWE, making a name for themselves with WWE, and not leaving. I mean, not even John Cena. John Cena wasn't even with the company for 30 years. He's off to Hollywood. The Undertaker didn't even really leave Hollywood, like, even leave to go to Hollywood like that. He, kept wrestling with multiple injuries, like being pieced back together like a freaking Barbie doll type of situation. And it's just like, you're not going to have something like that again. You're not going to have, not in our lifetime, have someone have a WrestleMania streak like he's had either. So, I feel as though as much as he gave to WWE is about as much should be given back for him and celebrated as well. I wish they would make him a solo entry, but if it's not, it's not, you know what I mean? Also, it's been announced that NXT will have Stand and Deliver to happen on April 2nd. NXT 2.0's Takeovers is no longer going to have its own night. I believe, like I said in my previous episode, the Hall of Fame and SmackDown are going to be on the same night. And Stand and Deliver is going to happen on Saturday, which I feel bad for people who is going to attend that event and WrestleMania night one. That's going to be a long day, a very long day. I don't know if I'm going to be checking out NXT Stand and Deliver live. I may check it out on Monday since I may have that day off anyway. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of wrestling. It's gonna feel like the old school 7 hour WrestleManias all over again. A lot of new fans of NXT 2.0, of course. Nikita Lyons had made her debut match, and yeah, wow, okay, wow. A lot of people going to be checking out NXT 2.0 now, and it's just really interesting. So, she has a very unique outfit, and I'm very confused about her character because they introduced her as like this singer and they put like the stars on her name and stuff like that. But she comes out like this Laura Croft Karate Kid type of character basically. And so I'm very confused at what are we doing here. I mean, I felt as though they should have definitely concentrate on the fact that she is very good. I don't know if it's karate or boxing, whatever it is, kickboxing or something like that. I forgot what it is that she's really good at. But I'm glad that it seems like they're concentrating on that more versus the singing and stuff. Like if they pulled off that whole, I don't know if people remember the diva wrestler Julianne who would come out singing. Like that's what I thought they were going to do with Nikita, and I'm glad that they didn't because that would completely destroyed her, of course. But I do find it interesting. So Tegan Knox had made comments, I believe it was last week, that she feels as though the WWE is trying to go back to the Divas era, because they're not really embracing the the difference with women that the ones who have tattoos and stuff like that. And while you know they are, definitely has stepping away from that, especially with the emergence of the Four Horsewomen and for Black and Gold NXT. Like you see things that's happening in NXT 2.0 and it just really kind of makes you question it. I mean, there's more people who were talking about the way that Nikita looked versus her wrestling skills. Whereas though when we had Bayley and Sasha Banks and, Charlotte, there was more talks about their wrestling ability versus their looks. more people. We see Mandy Rose posing in a bikini and giving the thirst trap Instagram shots on NXT TV. I mean, we got the singer. I still don't know her damn name, but I know what she looks like as well. And we have people like Lash Legend, the Bubble Chick, the clueless character. We got the sleepy character, and it seems like with NXT 2.0, they have now. This is not taken away from their wrestling ability. They can a lot of them can wrestle. A lot of them can definitely wrestle, but it seems like it's more about the actual character, the prettiness and everything. Like Lash Legend does more of the lashes hand signal versus like actually like wrestling. And like with that in mind, like Tegan kind of has a point because I'm like very curious of how this crosses over once that first wave of NXT wrestlers go up to the main roster, especially with people like Nikita Lyons and we see Mandy Rose on the main roster as well, but with Wendy Cho, the sleepy chick, with I think her name is Tiffany, the chick that is obviously stepped off of Clueless, and people like that. Like, how are you going to translate that on the main roster? You know what I mean? Are you going to stick with the I'm so pretty and this, that, and the third? Or are you actually going to concentrate on the actual wrestling? Because we still have Sasha Banks and Bayley and Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, stuff like that. So it's just she has a point, but then again she doesn't have a point because it's like two different worlds that's going on with WWE. I mean, with the main roster, there is still the women's wrestling where we have good matches. People are excited to see Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. We have Ronda Rousey in the picture, stuff like that. And then you look at, what's supposed to be the next wave of wrestlers, and we're seeing, Nikita Lyons looking the way that she's looking. I'm not complaining, but there's more talk about the way that she looks versus her wrestling, which I have seen plenty of times since I started watching wrestling back in 1992. Like I went through like people remember the Attitude Era with Trish Stratus and Lita and stuff, but people completely forgot like there were a fucking lot of um the nightgown matches, the bikini matches, the what was it, the bikini contest and stuff like that. Um as well. Like it wasn't pretty. And then of course with the butterfly belt and stuff like that, and whoever was the hottest, in wrestling immediately goes off the Playboy and stuff like that. So you know, I can see Tegan's point with NXT 2.0, but I'm hoping that that's just them trying to really push the character gimmicks on the women, and then we worry about the wrestling later. I'm hoping that, and I have my fingers crossed for that. So going into I'm not going to do an individual recap of what happened in WWE because everything is now building up for WrestleMania. And of course, we have at first it was winner take all, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, and now they announced at SmackDown that is a title unification, which I get, their roster has dropped considerably. And so it kind of makes sense for them to unify the titles, especially the fact that they put so much energy into, four or five people, and the rest of their roster is pretty much mid card at this point. But on the other hand, having the two titles really gave other people opportunities to really be champion. I mean, we've seen what happened with Bobby Lashley the past 2 years as well. And I feel like I feel like they're unifying the titles right now because they're concentrating solely on WrestleMania. But I feel like they don't have a plan after WrestleMania. They unify the titles, and then what? Especially if Roman Reigns was to win. Who is going to defeat Roman Reigns? He's already defeated all of the roster. And he had this 500-day title reign. He has defeated Seth Rollins already. He has defeated Um, everyone, he defeated everyone. And so now who is going to come up and defeat him? Now, the only way to, kind of fix this, especially, to kind of make it a little more interesting, is to put Seth Rollins into this, make it a triple threat match as well. I mean, I kind of was hoping that they would kind of continue that storyline between him and Roman Reigns, especially what happened at the Royal Rumble with Seth Rollins getting into his head and things like that. Um, but I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do after WrestleMania as far as with this one title. And it's just going to be like the old days when they had one title and they constantly had it on either two or three people and everyone else was sitting there just kind of like twiddling their thumbs. Now, maybe with this unification, there'll be more attention towards the IC title and the United States title. Because, we've seen what happened, the fact that Shinsuke Nakamura has had it for so long, and now it's getting attention because they are trying to involve a celebrity. You know what I mean? And look what Damian Priest, I don't know what the hell is going on with Damian Priest, but, it seems like he's just, doing the Jekyll and Hyde thing and, losing his temper and all that other stuff. But hopefully this will make the other two titles, kind of more important. But I don't really have any faith in that. Like I had said, when I was going over Royal Rumble, it's Mania season. We're having the part-timers and the celebrities back. Like I said, with the IC title, Sami Zayn won it in a very weird fashion and in a very weird finish, I should say. And now he is going against Johnny Knoxville for the IC title. And it's like, are they crazy enough to put the IC title on Johnny Knoxville, or, Sami Zayn is going to keep holding on to it? We also had The Miz appearing on Raw with the promise of, a global athlete, in his corner. A lot of people was thinking it would be Cody Rhodes possibly, kind of trigger that. I thought it would be hilarious if it was Cody Rhodes because that means he would immediately be a heel, standing next to The Miz. But no, it was revealed to be Logan Paul. And it's Logan Paul and The Miz versus Rey Mysterio and Dominic. And, I would love to see people's reaction if The Miz and Logan Paul was to win this match against Rey Mysterio, who was on the cover of WWE 2K22, and Dominic as well. Especially with them praising the career of Rey Mysterio to be defeated by Logan Paul, so Logan Paul can go on social media and even talk more shit. Edge had made a promo. A lot of people were saying that was one of the best promos in wrestling, which I highly disagree with. Edge can definitely give good promos and stuff like that. But no, there's people out there who can cut a promo, you know, better than Edge, in my opinion. While, yeah, there was a lot of intensity and stuff like that. Um, my opinion, I've seen Eddie Kingston cut a promo on Sour Patch Kids, which it was something. Not saying that that promo was better than what Edge has done, but there's a lot of names out there of people who can cut a promo better than Edge. Now, the promo that he cut on Monday Night Raw was intriguing. I mean, it could be that it is a open match for AJ Styles. People, of course, throwing Cody's name out there, which is not even official that he actually signed with WWE. It could be very well that he is, deciding to just retire for a little bit, which would be very weird, because he could easily had asked for time off with AEW. That's what I mean. I feel like he could easily ask time off with AEW if he just wanted to sit home for a little bit and enjoy his family. But apparently, it seems like it's going to be Edge versus AJ Styles. We also had I think we had, did we have a signing? No, that was something different. Of course, we have Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey, so we got that going on. It has been announced that it will be on night one. Apparently, it's going to be headlining, which I figured anyway. Even though a lot of people feel as though that Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair should headline night one, I kind of figured they're going to use Ronda Rousey, to kind of entice people to check out WrestleMania. So I figured they're going to make that night one, especially with both of the men's titles, in one match. So, it is what it is. But, just because something is headlining doesn't mean it's going to be the match of the night. Especially with the way that WWE sometimes do a lot of their premium live events. We sometimes have a very strong opening, and sometimes that opening match is the match of the night. So, just because, and, as we definitely have seen with a lot of WrestleManias, by the time you get to that main event, the crowd is dead, you're tired, you're just ready to see the end of the match and stuff like that. So, in my opinion, yeah, it would be great if Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair headline night one, but they could still put on a banger and surpass. People will be talking more about Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey, and that's what really it's all about. Like, people don't really remember. Like, there's people out there who don't really remember the main event of WrestleMania 25. Everybody talks about The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. So, it's, in my opinion, it's not really of what's headlining. It's about, the match of the night type of situation. And that's what I feel as though the people who are on WrestleMania should definitely concentrate on. Of course, there is the rumors out there of Stone Cold Steve Austin going against Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. Seth Rollins, though, had recently mentioned that him and Kevin Owens will be going after the Raw tag team titles, which, I don't know what happened with him trying to go after Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. It seems like there is no complaints about what happened in the Elimination Chamber. It's just like I'm spearing my head towards WrestleMania, so I don't know if that is going to be a match at WrestleMania, them for the Raw Tag Team titles, or, we may get that match sooner and then, start off with Kevin Owens going against Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then Seth Rollins, I guess, left twiddling his thumbs. And then, of course, we had Sasha Banks and Naomi announce that they're going after the women's tag team titles, which I'm excited to see. Kind of the tag team titles haven't really been important recently, especially with all these releases and everything like that. Drew McIntyre, it seems like Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin's going to happen at WrestleMania. Which is, I feel bad for Drew McIntyre because 2 years ago he was like Mr. WrestleMania for WrestleMania 36. Wait, was that WrestleMania 36? Yeah, that was WrestleMania 36. For Mania 36, but unfortunately for him, the pandemic happened. He couldn't really have his moment in front of a live crowd. And now here we are. He is going against Happy Corbin, which, I feel bad for the guy. Seems like Damian Priest is going to be doing something with Finn Balor. Of course, we have RK Bro and Alpha Academy, doing stuff on their ends. And then maybe the Usos versus the New Day for WrestleMania. Right now, they are going against the Viking Raiders for right now. For the Viking Raiders are going against the Usos, I should say, for the SmackDown tag team titles. But we'll see if that lands to WrestleMania. There's anticipation of who is going to answer Edge's open challenge. Is it going to be AJ Styles? Is it going to be Cody Rhodes? Or is it going to be somebody completely different? Who knows? So now getting into my early predictions for AEW Revolution. A lot of these matches aren't complete, but I will be putting out maybe a video of my predictions for the two matches that aren't completed yet, which is the Face of the Revolution ladder match and the three-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. they might add a match or two as well, especially if there is going to be a pre-show match as well. But let me get into some of these matches. My overall opinion of AEW Revolution, I'm very excited for it. Of course, there's the possibility of people debuting. Of course, we have Jeff Hardy floating around there. There's Killer Cross out there. There is Amber Moon. A lot of people that are still floating out there. Mia Yim, of course. Um, and so, there's a lot of anticipation of what's to come. My opinion, like top to bottom, I'm excited for all these matches. There's not really a even the 6-man tornado tag match I'm excited for. Um, one thing that AEW really does well is their pay-per-view events. While they are still struggling as far as the booking and the storylines, from week to week on Dynamite, but when it comes to these pay-per-view events, they definitely try to make sure that is worth the money that you have to pay for to see it, which, something I wish that WWE does. They kind of did it back in the day when it was just the 4 pay-per-views, of course, because you had to pay, $50 for it, and especially during the Attitude Era when it was the monthly pay-per-views because you were still paying $60 for it. Not everyone, so, but, you had to know someone. No, you had to know someone who knew someone back then in order to watch those events for free on cable. But yeah, normally for a lot of people, you were paying $60 to see the pay-per-view events every month. But now we are down to Peacock, where you were basically paying $5-6 each month for their premium live events. And so, you kind of get sometimes you get a $6 pay-per-view. I keep saying pay-per-view. For them, it's premium live event. And I am going to say it just like that because I feel like that's the way you're supposed to say when you say premium live event. So, but with AEW, it's a pay-per-view because you're paying fucking $40, $50, $60 to see this stuff. So if I am paying $40, $50, $60 for this in one go, you better give me a good pay-per-view. So I'm excited for this, top to bottom. Right now we have 9 matches. 2 of them are still being determined, of course, with the outcome of AEW Dynamite this week. It will finish out the 2 matches that I had talked about. So going in, starting off with the singles match for AEW TBS Championship, we have Jade Cargill versus Tay Conti. Jade Cargill all the way. I like Tay Conti has, definitely have improved, a while. But Jade Cargill, okay, she's my spirit animal. It is what it is. She's going to go on to be 30-0 and maybe 50-0. She was pretty funny on the last AEW Dynamite. She sat there and said, "Who's next?" And you heard the reaction from crowd and from Twitter, of course. But I was like, that's right. Who's next? And so, of course, Tay came out to answer the challenge. It could lead to a debut here, maybe Amber Moon. Maybe Amber Moon stands side to side with Jade Cargill, and you kind of work out, as Jade defending her title, you could even throw in, tag team matches between them two versus Tay Conti and Anna Jay, and then eventually down the line have Amber Moon versus Jade Cargill. But yeah, I'm excited to see this match. Jade Cargill has improved tremendously, especially with Bryan Danielson mentoring her and helping her out. He recently spoke on an interview, I forgot where, but he sang praises of Jade Cargill. And so, the fact that I think people forget, because, we talked about how green she is and stuff like that, that, she's thrust into this position and she's only been wrestling for 5 months. And we've seen a lot of improvement in her. And I'm not being biased. Well, I am being biased because it's Jade Cargill. But, however, I can say the same thing for a lot of the women in WWE and NXT. I'm happy when there is progress. If we are seeing the same stuff over and over and over again, it's just like, you know what I mean? Next up, the 6-man tornado tag match. We have Andrade, Matt Hardy, and Isiah Cassidy going against Sammy Guevara, Sting, and Darby Allin. seeing Sting wrestle nowadays is very exciting. I mean, the man could still go. He hasn't lost a beat. Darby Allin, of course, is going to take years off his life with this match. He's going to do a coffin drop off the top rope onto like concrete floor or some craziness like that. Sammy Guevara, he's pretty good as well. I just wish that we can get more Private Party. Really, I really miss Private Party. When AEW started out, like they were very promising, and then they got thrown in with Matt Hardy, and I feel as though he kind of lowered their stock a bit. I wish that, it could have like elevated them because, he is like tag team royalty. But I feel like with this match, I think Jeff Hardy is going to show up. It's no surprise that Jeff Hardy is with AEW. They announced that they're going to go on their final run as a tag team. Um, but I feel like he's going to appear here. Or at least that's what all of us are thinking. I mean, he already spilled the guts and said he signed with AEW. It's just a matter of when he is going to appear. But, if when the Hardys, reunite, it's going to be exciting to see them, you know, have that finals run, especially with a lot of the younger tag teams be able to, have their moment to wrestle the Hardys. I mean, can you imagine you growing up, idolizing the Hardys, and now you have a chance to be in the ring with them? I'm hoping that will elevate Private Party, but, I don't know. It is what it is. Even the Hardys versus the Young Bucks type of situation as well. Speaking of the Young Bucks and tag teams, next up is the three-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Division. Oh, wait, I didn't say who's going to win that tornado tag. I feel it could go either way. I feel like it could be Sammy Guevara, Sting, and Darby winning, and then Andrade, Matt, and Isiah attacking, and then that's when Jeff Hardy appears. I feel like that's normally what happens. And then there's the tease of Jeff Hardy not joining his brother, which would be a swerve. If he doesn't join his brother and he sides with Sammy, Sting, and Darby, that would be a complete swerve. But of course, we all know he's going to be siding with Matt Hardy. I kind of don't want Matt Hardy to go back to the broken Matt Hardy. I know people pop for it, but I just want them to go back to like the Hardy Boys. Why do we have to have broken Matt Hardy and then Jeff Hardy doing the Willow stuff? That makes no sense. So going into the three-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship, right now we have Jungle Express, reDRagon with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, and then to be determined, which I think will be the Young Bucks. And so I feel like it's going to be Jurassic Express versus reDRagon versus the Young Bucks. And I'm actually going to have reDRagon go over here. I know, yes, it's the WWE guys getting the title, but I feel as though there's the opportunity to start the biggest storyline that I feel as though is about to happen in AEW, and that is basically the new Undisputed Era against the Elite. And I'm going to get into another detail that I think is going to happen. Jurassic Express, I feel like it's time for Jungle Boy to do a singles run, to be quite honest. Maybe Christian Cage kind of turns heel here. I feel like I know, with him helping out Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus kind of like helps out because, he has experience as far as a tag team. But I feel as though like they were teasing Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage. I feel as though they can go in that direction. I like Luchasaurus. I really don't want him to be in limbo, but maybe he can be in the singles run as well and then reunite the Jurassic Express eventually. But I feel like there is the possibility of the trios title happening, and if that happens, then obviously you can have Jurassic Express with Christian Cage kind of go after it. But I feel as though Jungle Boy really needs to have a singles run. Like, yeah, he is, tag team champion, stuff like that. But I feel as though he needs to have a singles run to go after the TNT championship. That is my big prediction here. Next up, which I feel like is going to be one of the matches of the night, and that is Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley. I know I'm going to give a chef's kiss to this match at the end of the night. Of course, the whole thing with this is that, they're going to team up together, but first they got to bleed together. Yes, AEW has this thing about blood, but so did WWE back in the Attitude Era, and there are times where the blood is really unnecessary. I feel like, of course, we're going to have it here, because there's fucking Jon Moxley and crazy ass Bryan Danielson. But you know what's funny? I'm more excited for this match than I would have been if it was Daniel Bryan versus Dean Ambrose. It's just like the crazy thing of such a switch of character to someone, to where as though they kind of like relate more to the character. I feel like with Dean Ambrose, it felt like there was like something, like he was good, but it's like something, it needed more. And I feel like with Jon Moxley, it is what Dean Ambrose really should have been. This, because they was so stuck on this whole lunatic fringe and whoa, whoa, whoa. I mean, he's kind of Dean Ambrose, but it's like to the 10th power right here. And with Bryan Danielson, I mean, Bryan Danielson is like such a mastermind here, just a mastermind as far as wrestling here. And I know this match is going to really blow people out of the park. I can't wait to see this match. This is one of the matches I can't wait to see. Really, really, really. And I feel like this will be definitely match of the night. Who I think is going to win, it's really so hard to tell. Like, it can really go either way. One thing I love, with some of these matches in wrestling is that it can go either way, and whoever wins is like, I'm fine with it because I know in the end it's going to be a great match anyway. And the great thing about it also too is that it really doesn't damage anyone, whoever loses. Like, if Bryan Danielson loses, then he is losing, and he's going to turn around and say, I respect Jon Moxley, I can't wait to stand side by side to him. And with Jon Moxley losing, then it'll be Bryan Danielson saying, like, look, we need to be mentorship. I bled with you. I'm better than you, but I feel like I can't do this whole new wave of this stable I'm trying to build without you. So I feel like with these two, it can go either way. I think maybe Bryan Danielson wins here. Maybe being the as crazy as Jon Moxley is, I think Bryan Danielson can see like a flaw in something during the match and take complete advantage of it. I don't think Jon Moxley is going to tap or anything like that. I think Bryan Danielson is just going to is going to pin him 1, 2, 3. That's what I think it is. Now, of course, AEW can really have balls here and make this a draw, which would be very stupid. But it's like, it'll be stupid, but I kind of don't mind that either. I mean, whenever they do these draws, sometimes they do the draw to continue the feud and kind of like, give us something else a little bit later. But I feel as though this match between these two, we need a definite answer here, especially if they're going to team up together. Like, you can have one win over the other, they team up, and then, whoever loses, they just have it in the back of their head that they lost against the other, and then have that come back again once you decide to break up the stable. But I feel like whoever loses here, they're going to be fine. But I'm going to say Bryan Danielson here. Bryan Danielson I feel like is going to be more of the leader of the stable. And if he is going to be the leader of the stable, I feel as though him pulling off a win will definitely help with that. Next up, of course, Chris Jericho versus Eddie Kingston. The promo that they cut to each other on AEW Dynamite. Eddie Kingston, what I love about Eddie Kingston when he cut his promos, like, you don't know if it's him saying it or if it's like, are you saying this because, you need to promote this match? Are you really saying this because this is how you really feel, He was telling Chris Jericho, like, yo, this isn't sports entertainment. This is entertainment, this is wrestling. Like, why are we cutting this damn promo? Like, basically sitting there saying, we're wasting time. Like, we could easily be doing a women's match here. He was like, yo, Tony, send out Chris Statlander and someone else he mentioned. And he was like, let's have a women's match here. And I'm like, Thank you, Eddie. Promote women's wrestling in AEW. I'd love to see it. Um, but yeah, and then Eddie sitting there telling him that, you know, you need to go back up the street and stuff like that. And your friend like made a reference to Triple H as well. And then of course, Chris Jericho telling Eddie Kingston that he is afraid of failing, Eddie Kingston, of course, saying "What's a babyface?" being completely hilarious. But then, Chris Jericho kind of went there and said, your dad was a failure, your uncle was a failure, and you're afraid of, trying to succeed because you feel as though you're going to fail. And it's just like, what's going to happen here? One thing that I don't want to happen is Eddie Kingston losing. Eddie Kingston loses a lot of matches here, and while yes, the promos still save him, um, it kind of gives me that Bray Wyatt vibes, where Bray Wyatt cuts a really good promo and then he ends up losing, and it like diminishes the character because he's like, you're doing this great build up for this match with these promos and then you lose. So I'm hoping Eddie Kingston wins here. Because he definitely needs to win. I think Chris Jericho should lose. Kind of further the division between the inner circle, especially with Santana Ortiz in Eddie Kingston corner and Jake Hager in Chris Jericho's corner. But I'm really hoping for Eddie Kingston to pull off the win here. But I'm so excited for this match as well. Next up is the Face of the Revolution ladder match for the AEW Championship. Surprising of the people who are in this match is like half big guys, which, is something that you don't really see in a ladder match. I mean, people complain that AEW is nothing but small guys, and Tony Khan said, hold my beer. I'm going to have a ladder match with a bunch of big guys. Okay. And we have Keith Lee versus Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs, which those three here, you give me a triple threat match of these three, I'll be a happy girl. We also have Ricky Starks, Orange Cassidy, and then of course lastly is to be determined. Now I don't think they announced the match that will determine who the last person is, so I will be giving a second, like I said earlier, a second prediction for this once I find out who it is. But going off of what we see here now, truthfully, I mean, Ricky Starks is already the FTW champion. I think Wardlow is going to go on to feud with MJF once he's done with CM Punk. So I don't really see him winning here. I don't see Orange Cassidy really winning here. Sorry to people who are big fans of him. But I would like to see either Keith Lee or Powerhouse Hobbs here. But like I said, it determines on who is the last person. So I don't know if this person will be determined at Revolution, which it really shouldn't be, or if it's going to be revealed on the Go Home show this week on Dynamite. But I think this is going to be a great match. I mean, Keith Lee versus Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs, like I said, that's going to be an amazing combination between those three. Ricky Starks, of course, I'm a fan of Ricky Starks. Orange Cassidy, I'm a fan of Orange Cassidy when he was in Chikara. I didn't even know he was the same guy. I think he's Fire Ant when back in Chikara. But this could easily be Cesaro coming in. Like, it's just crazy right now. But like I said, I don't think they announced the final match that will determine who will be the last person going in. But like I said, I'm going to go either Keith Lee or Powerhouse Hobbs. I would like to see one of them go through. I mean, Sammy has done good with the belt with this second run. But I would love to see one of those two win the belt here. And then afterwards, we have Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa for the Women's World Championship. Look, I know there's a lot of people who wish Adam Cole and Britt Baker have the titles together, but this girl is going for Team Thunder Rosa. Look, Britt Baker has had the title for a very long time. She has improved as far as being a heel and stuff like that. But I would love for Thunder Rosa to win here. I feel as though the Women's World Championship with Thunder Rosa, I feel like the matches will be booked a lot better here because Thunder Rosa is all about what's going on in the ring. I think with Britt Baker, she's done a lot better as, with the character development and stuff like that. But it feels like a lot of her appearance on Dynamite and even Rampage was mainly her giving promos and not really more towards her defending the title. And I don't really mind, the title being like a special event type of situation. If they want to keep it that way, that's fine. You can use the time being as far as like building up number one contenders and then have her appear in promos if that's what they're really trying to do. However, I feel like with Thunder Rosa, there'll be a lot more different type of, exciting matches. It would be. Britt Baker has done a great job with the title, but I'm gonna go with Thunder Rosa here. I mean, you may even have a woman debuting at this match. So it's just like AEW is at the point now where people just debut. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for this match, though. I mean, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, the last time they went against each other, it was an amazing match. So I can't wait to see this. Another match, a lot of people feel as though this is a match of the night as well. The dog collar match, CM Punk versus MJF. Very weird. The past week, we had MJF cut basically a babyface promo. I mean, I liked the direction they went here. I wish this promo would have been cut in a place like Long Island, but I guess they wanted to give MJF the challenge here of cutting a quote unquote babyface promo and be able to turn the crowd with his promo, which he kind of did. But of course, it's MJF. So it's like, is he really telling the truth here or is he just playing all of us, But the story that they're going with here, of course, it's been brought up many times that that MJF is a big CM Punk fan. There's the picture of when he, met CM Punk and got the signing. CM Punk cut a promo and saying, for me, that was just a Tuesday and basically it meant nothing to me and stuff like that. And you see MJF walk off 2 weeks ago. This past week, MJF had cut a promo and he, basically was like, it wasn't just a Friday, it wasn't just a Tuesday or whatever day he said. That was my everything. I looked up to you and I wanted to be a wrestler because of you, this, that, and the third. Really making a lot of people kind of relate to him. You're looking up with your idol and you want to be a wrestler because of that idol and stuff. And then he mentioned how you left us and you were a quitter and, how he was bullied and stuff like that because, the Jewish kid that was bullied and, all the issues that he went through and he had overcome it. And he is basically was treating CM Punk like you were a disappointment and I decided to, rise above that and be a better wrestler for you and I'm never going to give up. Psst, John Cena. But but then CM Punk comes out with a look on his face like, did I really do that? Was that the truth or something like that? And you see MJF walk away. So of course we're going to get the continuation of that story on AEW Dynamite. If this was a genuine feeling of MJF or if this was, basically another swerve to try to get to try and get to the head of CM Punk. But I feel it was an interesting twist. I mean, this feud between these two has been going on for a while. I kind of was looking forward to this feud because of the promo versus promo. And so I thought this feud would end with MJF winning in Chicago, which I kind of figured it wouldn't because it's MJF beating CM Punk in Chicago twice, and then MJF coming out like with a big celebration. This may be the end of this feud here. I feel like CM Punk will win here, especially since we had MJF winning twice in Chicago. But it's like, after the twist that this feud has taken with MJF now being the kid who used to be bullied in school and looked up to CM Punk and was disappointed that CM Punk had walked away from wrestling for 7 years and stuff like that. It's like, is it a good look if CM Punk was to win? Because then it kind of makes CM Punk more like the I don't know, like I feel like it's an opportunity for MJF to win here to kind of like give that. It gives like it's very confusing. It's very confusing the way it has made a turn. Like it's a very interesting turn, and it's not something I really expected. But now it's like the way the story is going to book in the end. Like like the only way if CM Punk was to win, and it makes sense if MJF comes out this week and say that, he didn't mean it, he made the story up type of situation. But if MJF comes out and say that he meant every word he said, it's like, should CM Punk really win here? Like, if CM Punk wins here, then it's like the bullied kid, gets basically bullied again, and the guy who bullies him, wins, and sit there and say it was just a Tuesday or something like that. Or if CM Punk wins, maybe turns around, gives respect to MJF, and I don't know, like, it's very weird how they can make this make sense in the end if CM Punk was to win here. And then of course if MJF wins, then that's him beating CM Punk 3 times. And this could actually help MJF try to go after the World Championship, maybe, or even the TNT Championship later on down the line. But yeah, for this match, I don't really know how to go. Like, it really depends on what happens on Dynamite, if MJF sticks to that story or not. If MJF sticks to that story, then I feel like MJF should win here. Because it really wouldn't make any sense to cut that promo of how you were bullied and you like overcame things and stuff like that and then lose. That makes no sense for him to do something like that. If he is like completely joking and stuff like that, I'm gonna go with CM Punk here. So when I turn around to round out my predictions, especially if they add another match here, which I highly doubt they would do, but I really can't make a decision for CM Punk versus MJF here. So it just depends on what happens on AEW Dynamite. So now, finally, for the AEW World Championship, we have Hangman Adam Page versus Adam Cole. Adam versus Adam. And now this, people have complained about Adam Cole and the way he's being booked and how he was booked stronger in NXT. And now look where we are now. Adam Cole has risen through the ranks and has now challenged Hangman Page for the title. And now we are in the situation where if Adam Cole wins, Hangman Page will have the shortest title reign in history. And no, it wasn't really booked strongly either. I have an issue with that. However, if Adam Hangman Page retains, they would give Adam Cole his first loss, and people will complain some more. So it's like, which way are you going to go? For me, unfortunately, I mean, if Hangman Page was to lose too, it would really like make that whole 2-year booking of him rising through the ranks and stuff like that seem like a waste of time. And then it's like, and then where do we go from here? So my answer to that, my prediction, I feel like Adam Cole is going to win here. Like I said, I have Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly winning the tag team titles, and I feel like this is going to start the big storyline of the Undisputed Era versus the Elite. Now, I feel like you would have, like, it wouldn't really be like a face or heel type of situation, because AEW has the weird thing where you can be a heel and still get cheered by the fans, but I feel like this is going to have the new Undisputed Era versus the Elite going against each other, especially with the eventual return of Kenny Omega. I feel like the Young Bucks may get involved here, seeing as though we had that slight tease of Hangman Page helping out the Young Bucks when Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, I think it was them that got involved. I forgot. Hangman Page helped out the Young Bucks at a certain period of time. And then, of course, we had the Young Bucks giving the nod to Adam Page initially when he was going against Kenny Omega for the titles. And so I feel like with, Adam Cole, they were giving, Adam Cole bringing in, people. He brought in Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. He brought in Jay White. And, the Young Bucks are like, Jay White has issues with Kenny Omega, right? And, of course, when Kenny Omega was in the picture, there was little glimpses of there being a slight issue with Adam Cole and Kenny Omega. So I feel as though Adam Cole winning the title and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly winning the tag team titles, it will, basically have them back to the Undisputed Era days. And then we'll have Hangman Page and the Young Bucks kind of feuding against them. And then with the eventual return of Kenny Omega, you would have Kenny Omega, Adam Page, and the Young Bucks with Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, and I don't know, maybe Jay White will then enter on their side as well. But I don't know who would be the extra person there, you know? But I feel like that's what we can do here. It would be really cool if Cesaro was to enter the picture at that point, but I highly doubt it. Um, but yeah, I feel as though Adam Cole should win here. I know that, we spent 2 years with Hangman Page building up, his eventual title reign, but his title reign hasn't really been booked properly, which is really a shame. It's seen as though, all the work that has went into him winning the title. But I feel like this is going to be leading to, you know, Undisputed Era versus the Elite, with the Young Bucks kind of basically turning face here. Um, but yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting match. I mean, this could even lead to maybe I highly doubt it for Kenny Omega to come back, because it's only been about 4 months. I think Kenny Omega may come back at Double or Nothing for in May. That's what I think. I feel like Kenny Omega should take as much time as he need away. As many injuries he has sustained over the years, the fact that he pretty much wrestled everywhere for AEW. I mean, he had all the titles and everything. I think he definitely needs much needed rest. And so I feel like it would give the time for the Undisputed Era versus the Elite to kind of pan out and continue on to Double or Nothing here. But overall, I'm very excited for this pay-per-view. I think this is going to be a very good pay-per-view. I feel like, just like we have with All Out, we'll have, debuts and stuff like that of who's going to be coming out. Because we already have Buddy Matthews being All Elite here. I was very excited to see him appear. I love the feud between him and Malachi when they was in WWE. And so I feel like now, with him, siding with Malachi and joining the House of Black, we'll have, them two side by side. I mean, they were given the tease that Buddy Matthews kind of really don't want to, be on his team, because we saw Malachi telling Buddy Matthews to go out and attack Pac and stuff like that. And you've seen Buddy kind of give a little bit of a, not really an attitude, but he was very hesitant to attack. So I know eventually down the line we're going to have Buddy versus Malachi, and I can't wait for that. And I feel like what the feud in AEW is going to be is really what they really imagined in WWE. I think it's going to be like to the second power when they start feuding together. So, but I'm very happy to see that. Eventually, Julia Hart will eventually join them as well. We'll see if we saw the debut of, well, not the debut, but the return of Penta Dark as well. And yeah, it wasn't overshadowed with Buddy Matthews coming in and, teaming up with House of Black, kind of, yeah. But I feel as though that it's going to be a continued feud with them as well. And maybe Pac versus Buddy Matthews that might get added here, which would be really cool. And maybe not knocking the tornado. I think knocking the tornado tag team match to the pre-show possibly, but I highly doubt that happens. But yeah, I'm very excited to see this pay-per-view. I think this is going to be a great week for wrestling fans. And then we also have the MSG event on Saturday as well. They were saying that Bobby Lashley was going to be there, which was like slightly confusing because he's obviously injured with a shoulder injury, and he is supposed to be out for 4 months and out during WrestleMania. So it was slightly confusing for that. But Brock Lesnar is supposed to be defending his WWE Championship. We have Roman Reigns defending his Universal Championship. This is off of the Madison Square Garden website. It says, the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar, will defend his WWE Championship. Roman Reigns will defend his Universal Championship. Both champions in the same arena on the same night. What could happen? But we also have Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley. And that's if the, of course, card is subject to change. So we may have to wait for a Raw and SmackDown to roll around before we actually get what's supposed to happen. But if we get Becky Lynch versus Bianca versus Rhea Ripley, a triple threat match for the women's championship, yes, please. I would love to see that. And then, of course, once again, Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus Charlotte versus Sonya Deville, which makes sense. The New Day versus the Usos for the SmackDown Championship. I'm hoping that is a WrestleMania match. And then, of course, more people appearing live, including Rollins, Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles, RK Bro, Sasha Banks, and many more. But yeah, I'm excited for that MSG show as well. Usually the WWE does a pretty good job booking that venue, because they, like, oh, it's our venue type of situation. But I think it's going to be a pretty good show. So I'm going to check that out on Saturday night as well. So that's it for the WrestleBread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Let me give a couple of shout outs. Shout out to Julian Rob Bates from Wrestling Court Podcast and AlternativeMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show. Chris from We Talk Next, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show. Nando and Larry from Half K Podcast. Devin Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling. I was on their most recent episode. We were talking about Cesaro leaving. We were also talking about Elimination Chamber as well. So be sure to check out that latest episode. I was on there with Nick from Universal Wrestling Podcast, Dom from Top Rope Wrestling Talk, and Tim from the Wrestling Index Podcast as well. Shout out to Straight Talk Wrestling Podcast and Circle Debate Podcast as well. Coming up next week, I'm going to give my review for Revolution and my review for the Madison Square Garden live event as well. As we are on officially the road to WrestleMania, I will be talking more, probably on video, about different things about WrestleMania, especially with The Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame. I'll be talking about, the Undertaker's impact on my life, his career, the WrestleMania streak, as well, and then of course all the WrestleMania memories throughout the years, the worst WrestleMania matches, of course, who can not forget WrestleMania 9, of course. But yeah, be sure to hop on Twitter and follow me at JDC137. That's JAYDEE letter C 137. I feel like Jeff Jarrett every time I do that. And then you can also follow the podcast on Twitter at WrestleBread. You can click the links in the profile to get the Instagrams, the Facebooks, and the YouTube channel as well. You can also listen to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, and wherever you get your podcasts as well. Be sure to leave a review. Let me know your thoughts, how you feel about the Elimination Chamber coming up. Is there a match that you are excited for to see? And is there a match that you don't really care for? And how do you feel about the possibility of Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish having titles at the same time? Do you feel as though it should happen, or do you feel as though it shouldn't happen? Let me know your thoughts, and until next time, guys, peace.